First, let me know when I can start. Okay. Na yake tena waziziba ama wazishukisha nionekane? Oh, okay. Wajua asanteni sana. Watu ya Fourth Estate, members of the media, good afternoon. It's actually the strike of noon. Assalamu alaikum. First, ni ku appreciate sana for your prompt response to this press briefing, which wants to address one of the pertinent issues currently we are facing as a country. We are here with part of the leadership of Mombasa, who comprise of various directors and chairpersons and directors of various state corporations and other leaders from the county of Mombasa. But more instructively also we are joined by one of the directors of the Kenya Pipeline Company, Mr. Mutungo Wambua, who has acted swiftly in response, together with her chairperson, Faith Boynet and others, to avert a potential economic crisis or sabotage. The subject of my presser today, which will be distributed to all of you, is safeguarding integrity, rejecting callous political exploitation of the petroleum scandal. On behalf of the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, I wish to address a critical national security concern that has over the weekend been regrettably politicized callously and irresponsibly. In light of the evolving geopolitical developments across the globe, that is the Iran war, particularly in the Middle East, our beloved country, like many other states across the world, is confronting unprecedented economic and strategic vulnerabilities. Among these emerging risks is the stability, reliability, and security of our fuel supply chain, which remains a cornerstone of national stability, economic continuity, and public welfare. Instead of approaching this matter with the sobriety, patriotism, and unity it demands, certain political opportunists have chosen to exploit this grave situation, scavenging for political mileage and advancing narrow, myopic, and parochial interests at the expense of the national good. It is for this reason that the UDA finds it necessary to address the impeached former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, otherwise known as Wamunyoro, and his surface-level economic expert, Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro. We urge the two shallow well talkers who have styled themselves as echo chambers enthusiasts to desist from acting at the behest of their Mombasa-based benefactor. On this critical national matter, this commentary has not only been given discordant, their commentary has not only been discordant. On this critical national matter, their commentary has not only been discordant, but also conspicuously superficial, betraying a troubling lack of intellectual depth and policy understanding. During this vulnerable moment, a small clique of unscrupulous civil servants, sworn to safeguard national interests, conspired to enrich themselves at the expense of millions of Kenyans. They orchestrated a nefarious scheme that will have occasioned a direct loss of more than 3 billion Kenya shillings to the public by procuring substandard petroleum products under the false pretext of an impending fuel shortage. Driven by unrestrained greed, they went further to undermine and curtail critical product quality testing protocols, recklessly exposing consumers, transport systems, and key economic production sectors to potentially catastrophic risks. Wamunyoro and Ndindi, rather than condemning such characters and applauding their resignations because they are indeed not victims but villains, Instead have sided with the individuals who had engineered artificial supply constraints by restricting the discharge of petroleum products to oil marketing companies. All the while, the unsuspecting public bore the brunt and misdirected their frustration towards innocent market players. The so-called Wamunyoro petroleum moral angels, whom he is protecting with unmatched favor and enthusiasm, have no qualms about plotting to increase fuel prices by an additional 60 shillings within a fortnight per litre. Their actions were not merely negligent, but a calculated gluttony designed to manufacture panic, distort market dynamics, and manipulate supply chains for personal gain. A cynical attempt to profit from manufactured uncertainty. The UDA commends the government and its security agencies for swiftly nipping this criminal enterprise and attempted economic sabotage in the bud. We strongly condemn the reckless, unfounded, and thoughtless utterances by Wamunyoro. Whereas politics may be contested across many fronts, Wamunyoro ought to be reminded that indeed schooled. Whereas politics can be contested across many fronts, Wamunyoro ought to be reminded and indeed schooled that matters touching on national economic security demand restraints, maturity, and statesmanship from leaders across all political persuasions. Regrettably, Wamunyoro has consistently fallen short of this standard, repeatedly demonstrating a profound deceit in judgment and statesmanship. His recent posture lending credence to narratives and schemes that threaten economic stability reveals a leader seemingly willing to assume the role of a political economic hitman, prioritizing factionalism and sectarianism expediency over national interest, a conduct that is not only unbecoming of a leader of his stature, but also dangerously inimical to the society's welfare and the security of the country. It is difficult to believe that Wamunyoro and his pseudo-informants are unaware of how international oil majors, such as the Saudi Aramco, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Corporation, and ENOC, nominate local agents under established global protocols. Equally, it is inconceivable that he will be so naive, credulous, and politically distressed as to embrace the misguided and armchair narrative peddled by his Mombasa-based paymaster and other allied economic saboteurs that they intended to import cheaper fuel outside the G2G, that is the government-to-government framework. On the contrary, the scheme involved importing multiply highly priced. On the contrary, the scheme involved importing multiple highly priced cargoes between Kenya shillings 50 and Kenya shillings 80 above the existing D2G shipments, a move that will have triggered runaway inflation, crippled the economy, and inflicted untold miseries and suffering on millions of Kenyans. It's therefore worth noting that while Wamunyoro is well within his democratic right to engage in political contestation, he must exercise prudence and avoid inflammatory, ill-informed, and infantile pronouncements meant to inflame emotions and score cheap tribal and parochial political points. In conclusion, we wish to provide clarity on the following critical issues. We offer firm assurances to Kenyans that they will not be penalized at the pump for this ill-conceived fuel importation misadventure. In the forthcoming fuel price review, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority will sustain the government-to-government G2G pricing framework, which has demonstrably remained stable and reasonable and continues to offer the most reliable safeguard for fuel quality, supply stability, and national energy security. 2, we confirm that adequate safeguards have been instituted to mitigate risk posed by the substandard cargo. The government will disclose the mandatory quality test conducted at discharge and release the corresponding results to the public. There will be no waiver of such testing protocols, as any such action would amount to gross negligence and unacceptable dereliction of duty. 3, we confirm that surcharge and recovery proceedings against the importers have commenced to ensure Kenyan taxpayers are shielded from any financial exposure. We further propose punitive sanctions amounting to 5 times the projected loss, that is 3 billion times 5, amounting to 15 billion. These recovered funds should be ring-fenced and channeled towards strengthening level 6 referral hospitals, thereby converting a potential crisis or loss into a long-term public health investment. Fourthly, we further urge investigative agencies to scrutinize the conduct of Omunyoro in light of his remarks, which appear to suggest unusual familiarity with the alleged scheme. If evidence established complicity, he should be treated as an accomplice and subjected to the full force of the law. Thank you. That's Hassan Omar, Secretary General, the UDA. Just in a context, to explain, the lies and deceit, the sheer lack of restraint by one Omunyoro on any matter that touches sometimes on the security and grave national interest has become a matter of grave concern to a lot of reasonable Kenyans. I think we have been treated to the theater of misinformation, disinformation, ethnic incitement, emotions, whipping of emotions by these gentlemen, even when the facts are steady and the facts suggest the contrary. And today we have decided as a party and in future that we will respond to him on every disengagement and misinformation that he has, particularly when he is being paid or being where paymasters are evidently using his otherwise rogue platform to create the discord that we see today within the opposition or within the political space. So I think today I was addressing some of these typical national issues. One thing that happened for a fact, for those of you who have studied the G2G arrangements very, very, very carefully, to avert and to ensure our security of supply in terms of fuel and national interest, we did get into a G2G arrangement at the advent of this administration about 2 years ago. That intention was to ensure that not only security of supply, but to ease the demand on the Kenya shilling, on the dollar, so that we could stabilize the shilling. For public officers, in their own volition, to act outside established frameworks of engagement, where if our G2G partners today had pulled out, would occasion a massive economic crisis, is the height of not only greed or gluttony, but the height of lack of patriotism. I think since the Iran crisis began, where Israel and the US illegally started bombing Iran, there has been no indication from our G2G partners whatsoever that they will not meet the obligations. In fact, the G2G prices have been extremely stable. It is quite unfortunate that some players would want to exploit that crisis. They started by creating an artificial shortage. You do recall there was almost a panic buying at some point across Nairobi and parts of Kenya, only to say that there is a higher increased demand. Definitely, if I go and fuel my tank to a full tank rather than the usual quarter tank, there will be a demand, a false demand or surge in demand, which then will just stabilize as time progresses. And then purport to use that crisis to import outside the G2G framework, which is an arrangement that has assured us stable supply of fuel, stabilized the Kenya shilling, stabilized the economy, stabilized inflation. Wajua leo, if fuel prices were to go up, it affects all other sectors of the economy. The fuel crisis will create a volatility in the economy that is unprecedented. And yet Kenya has been able to mitigate this volatility quite effectively. So I think it was an utmost lack of patriotism for any public officers to conspire with private sector players to attempt to subvert a crisis in a manner, or rather than avert a crisis, to precipitate a crisis that would have probably created such enormous challenges for any government. Other governments, other countries are already rationing usage of fuel. They're already rationing electricity and power supply. They're already rationing LPG. Yet in Kenya, because of our commitments that we've had with our partners, they've assured us of the cargo and our demand being met on a day-to-day or on a month-to-month basis. For that conspiracy, that is not even the end of the story. You know what happens when, as our investigative agencies were investigating this matter and taking necessary action is the over-continued politicization of all matters that are within his knowledge or out of his knowledge. You do realize that all of you who have been watching Wamunyoro, even as deputy president, has always demonstrated very wanting intellectual faculties to understand even very basic concepts. But for this one, he is fairly eloquent because he has been prepped to create diversionary aspects of the investigation, to divert the investigation, and to be a beneficiary of those who are perpetrating these massive economic crimes. I do believe the DCI will act swiftly and that suspects will be presented with the necessary charges, and that will be a deterrence. And us as a party, we know that there's a lot of remnants of the Uhuru regime who are still working for our government, are sabotaging this country and this government in all aspects, in all sectors of the economy, in all public institutions and state corporations. I want to tell you that we serve as a warning that we will not allow you to continue to sabotage this government, especially at this critical point, especially when it matters of economy and matters of national interest do come to fore. So we will act with unbending zeal, with necessary commitment and ruthlessness to handle these kinds of malpractices. It's just unfathomable that any public servant will try to, and any private individual out of a sheer recklessness to profiteer, will subject this country to a potential economic crisis of this magnitude and Kenyans to suffering kwa ajili ya 3 billion Kenya shillings. I think that's why we are saying that there must be a punitive sum of 15 billion so that it serves as a deterrence for those in future who want to subvert this country's otherwise fair economic trajectory or good economic trajectory. So sisi tuko tayari kwa maswali mawili ama matatu. Yes, Kai.
We understand those who are implicated but did resign, and there was also a call for the PS, because it's the PS of the image. Maybe if you know something, why is still on the system? Maybe what your take on that?
First and foremost, I want to first commend the act of patriotism by Opiyo Wandayi, the Minister for Energy and Petroleum, who was the first one to pull the plug on this matter. There's been some cartels in the petroleum sector and energy sector who have been trying to profiteer illegally were trying to profiteer illegally from this crisis. There are those also who are trying constantly to dominate the energy market so as to ensure that there's a continued sense of dominance or monopoly. And that affects the prices of energy or LPG quite exponentially. And therefore, I think the government is intervening. We have licensed various handlers, including Taifa Gas and Lake Gas, and we hope that we will have a gas LPG OTS, and based on that G2G on LPG, we hope to lower the prices of energy or LPG quite substantially. So I am not aware that this touches in any way the PS energy. I think it just wants people, they have a way of crying for blood of others. Alex is an honorable gentleman, and this in no way touches the mandate of his ministry. Oil importation and regulation doesn't touch the mandate of the PS for energy. And I'm quite excited having men like Opiyo Wandayi in this government who know where public interest begins and where gluttony must end. And I think by him raising the red flag, averted a potential crisis for this country, particularly with those we have contracted as our G2G partners, to ensure that there was no further harm or damage occasioned to the people of Kenya. But I don't know who said it, but take Wamunyoro and his surrogates with a lot of contempt. You know, Wamunyoro, for instance, drops in names. He's very casual with tribes. When he mentions a very innocent businessman like Jack Chebet is a businessman of great repute, and we know he has not disinherited his brother's widow. Yeah, Jack Chebet does legitimate business in the region. Starbucks is a big oil marketing company. It has presence in the whole of this region, including Uganda. But for him to constantly drop Jack Chebet's name is to create, is an attempt, you know, to draw the lines of ethnicity. Tuju anashindwa kulipa deni. Then unaleta Wamunyoro because he's the easiest prey of propaganda and rumors. Lipa deni bwana. Kai, unakopesha 900 million. Pesa mimi na wewe wengine tutazisikia kwa TV na magazeti. Unazipora. Halafu unasema unakwenda kwa nini? Kwa polisi, unadanganya, una fake abduction. Alafu wazee wawili bwana. Mmoja anasema oh I'm dying. Alafu yule watermelon anamwambia oh you will not die. Imefika ujinga aina gani? Hii wazee, you know where Jaramogi Oginga Odinga is. Masinde Muliro, where Stanley Njindo Matiba is, where Charles Rubia are, and they look at an opposition led by Wamunyoro, Watermelon, Yule Mwamwalwa. They shudder and they are probably praying for this government iendelee na kuendelea. The alternative for this country is catastrophic. That's why we remain stable and we remain committed, and we are quite assured of our second term by God's will. Yes. Yes.
Maybe from the position of the party, the UDA party, I've seen in many nations, the democracy prevails. You see like Wadai being the CEO of the release sector, the energy department.
Yeah.
I've seen in countries where the democracy is,
So you're saying that democratically, the democracy Wandai should have resigned. That's what you're trying to say.
not yet.
Yeah. What are you saying?
I'm asking, should Wadai have seen this coming, being the CEO of the energy sector? And also, maybe, can you bet on what Wamunyoro was saying? Because Wamunyoro has been bragging himself, like, I have been seeing this coming in other sector like Shah. So, what are your words in counter?
Everything Wamunyoro has said, he said the economy will collapse. It has not collapsed. He said Shah was fake. Right now he's prophesizing doom. He talked about many other ills of government. To the contrary, they have prevailed. And he himself, in his own account, has listed the achievements of this government. Just that he adds a rider of hatred and malice. He has made President William Ruto as his punching bag because of he's still trying to heal. Yeah, he's still trying to heal. He never thought that this country has the audacity to take tribalists like him home. And I think this country also will now retire these people eventually in 2027. One of the things that why some of these people are getting a little tired with Wamunyoro, these were aggressors for a very long time. Yeye na kina Uhuru, wajua alikuwa pia ya Uhuru. Na kabla hapo CV yake ilikuwa na wizi ya mahindi, ya relief food. That's the only CV he has. Then his brother died, and then he became a member of parliament. So that's a very short CV. But these are Uhuru today says he warned us as a country. Uhuru has been the biggest perpetrator of the position that this government has taken the country out of, the inflation, the debt situation. So when these are aggressors, these are people who victimized and perpetuated the kind of economic crimes we see in this country, the marginalization. So you must be very careful when you position the perpetrators as the victims. Wamunyoro is not a victim, he's a perpetrator. And all these things are wishful. So people have realized when you are angry, people always feed you with angry dogma. At where he is, across the country. Do you see Wamunyoro visiting these areas of the country? He just makes a few trips to Kisii because there's Matiang'i there. He goes to Ukambani, then he calls Mohamed Ali and they go somewhere in Mount Kenya. Mohamed Ali insults us in a language most people in Mombasa don't understand, and then they come back. It's just malice and hatred. People who walk together in hatred and in ethnicity. Watu wadua wanaogopa kusema hiyo. The only people who hang out with Wamunyoro are tribalists. They only run candidates. When you'll see now DCP will go to run a candidate in Olkalau because he thinks they are Kikuyus to feed on. Wamunyoro will run a candidate. What is it called? This it's called what? Watermelon. Only in Ukambani, because he has no other clout. But you see the way UDA runs a candidate anywhere. Hata kukitokea nafasi mwezini, tuko na mtu. Tutakwenda tu. Because that's how a national party must operate. But these factional political parties, even if you look at the modus operandi of what some of the people who are looking the votes, their votes architecture, some of the candidates here are constantly posting hatred. Oh, sijui sisi wabara tutapigiwa kura. Who has ever said anybody is restricted? People, they all read from the same script of hatred and malice, and I will not hesitate and cease from reminding Kenyans. But nyinyi watu ya UDA sasa, don't allow these people unabated monopoly in addressing these types of issues, because for a long time they have thought because nobody is responding to them, they can get away with it. And then, wajua, before Wamunyoro is allowed to bring this country down, that's why I'm telling the DCI, make good some of your statements. Arrest this gentleman. Sisi tuko tayari. Arrest him. Kwani atatufanya nini? Yes, iko watu yake kidogo fanatic, watapiga kelele mahali hapa na pale. So what? If we continue to exercise restraint, they look at restraint as cowardice. So it is important for us now to demonstrate our sense of courage as a nation. So wewe ndugu yangu Amin, wale watu wako katika upelelezi, the IG Kanja, it's time to act on this gentleman before it's too late, because he has consistently tried to evoke emotions in this country to precipitate hatred and violence. Yes. Wewe uko huko ama huko? Oh, okay. Nilifikiria hata alikuwa anakuangalia ni aspirant ya wapi. LGB. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but you see, the G2G has continued to give us very steady prices. There's no reason for us to buy fuel at the G2G accepted prices without any potential disruption or within a fair price range, despite the crisis in the Middle East or the war, and then us increasing pump prices. But what this cargo had intended to do was to disrupt that. It was intended to renege on the commitments we have under the G2G, occasion a pullout, and occasion a profiteering. And this cargo that was brought in was far more expensive than the cargo under the G2G. It will have occasioned a 47 shillings to a 50 shillings price hike, or even 60 per litre. Do you know what would that have meant? Our prices of fuel will have gone up by an average of about 25 to 30%. And that means, therefore, inflation across board. Your Uber, matatus, energy costs, the cost of supply, the cost of production, everything will have gone up. So these private sector players and these public sector duty bearers acted in utter bad faith to sabotage this country economically and to occasion massive harm. For players who have not declared upon us at the G2G that we have any challenges in delivering Kenya's demand on petroleum. And what if today even they recall the money is owed to them under the G2G arrangement? So this is just unpatriotic. Rather than Wamunyoro sometimes using his mind, which I think he doesn't exercise prudently, to look at these issues, he constantly is attacking people, attacking Gulf Energy. He knows how the Gulf Energy came into the G2G arrangement. He also tried to have his own company, which was denied because I think at that point he was still in government. He knows that Jack Chebet is not part of this whole ecosystem. But he continues to malice very genuine, hardworking business enterprises, hardworking government officials, the DCI. He tries to malice the president on a day-to-day basis so that he can create a basis or a platform for his politics. Politics has to be done with decorum. Politics, they act, they go for every little thing. Mtu hajalipa deni, serikali. Standard haijalipa deni, serikali. Juzi pia mlisema ile tulisuspend ile onyo yenu kwa ajili serikali inajaribu kwa silence. So true. Lipa deni, lipa wafanyikazi. Hata wafanyikazi wanajua hawalipwi. Sio deni tu.
Can I add a point on what is
Yeah.
about the storage on the place?
Why 1 to 7?
I'm giving in a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being the highest. And we talked about Romero and Lily Moro. If these are culprits that are dangerous to the society, why are they not being apprehended? Because these are people who are in the system.
You see, this is a democracy. That's why nothing that they say holds water anywhere. But you see, for a long time, even you have probably consumed this fake news, particularly in terms of how we present it. It has no legal grounding. But you see, even madmen are given an opportunity to say whatever they feel in a democracy. But now when those touch on facts and national security of the country, we respond. And that's why I've told the DCI, where there is factual or reasons or grounds to arrest and charge these men. You know, today, so suddenly, this gentleman, Ndindi, has become an expert on everything. He won't, you know, he tells us how the fuel prices will not go down, will not go up. Everywhere in the world, the fuel prices are going up. The reason the fuel prices in Kenya are stable is because of the G2D. This is a quack who some of you have confidence because of some ethnic machinations of their unparalleled intelligence, because they are consistently attacking this government. And therefore, for you, some of you, that is music to your ears. So you tend to embrace the falsities on the basis that they tend to satisfy or quench your thirst for malice and falsities. But I think I'm just saying, but now, I hope when we start taking action, there are those who will not think that it is just a circus. We will challenge, we have to challenge the DCI to act appropriately where necessary. This is the director at KPC.
Yes.
He wants to add something. Kenya Pipeline Company.
Yes, thank you very much, SG. I think SG has wrapped up everything. The UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar. But I want to answer the question this gentleman asked, what plan we have for Kenyans. I think the government doesn't speak a lot of its thing. It's very quiet. But when this government came in place, Kenya Pipeline bought KPRL, which is refinery, it's not a refinery, 100%. So it's under KPC. And those tanks which were here, almost 500,000 metric tons, they were converted from crude oil to be able to store fine product, which is petroleum and diesel. And this can last Kenya for 30 days. If you go to Port of Dar es Salaam, you'll find like 20 ships docked waiting to offload. That's, you cannot find it in Kenya because we have enough storage. That is the big tank which used to store crude oil. The ships can offload there and go. And even worst case scenario, we can bring over 10 ships in the ocean and our tanks are full. And we have not spoken of Eldoret tanks, which is in Kisumu tanks. We have not spoken of Nairobi, PS10, PS9. So SG has said it, we have enough storage to store product and there is no panic in the market. And those individuals who went outside the system that is there, they tried to circumvent it. They did it on their own. There was no instruction from the board didn't know this and the other staff didn't know. So let them carry their own cross. Let the staff of KPC or others fear of anything. If you are clean, you'll be clean. But if your hands are dirty, the government will go for you. That is what I want to assure. Thank you, SG. My name's Mutungwa Wambua, Director, Kenya Pipeline.